All right. Well, good evening. And we've got Nicholas back. It's great to see you under these most somber of circumstances.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
But what we're going to do tonight, everybody, and let me thank Kim and Looney Tunes for moderating. I don't know who else is here, but hello, everyone. We have a very busy show and we're going to try to keep it to an hour. We're going to start with a quick video from a couple of days ago. And then Nick's going to take off and just go. So let's watch Jeff Baradelli. And we are ready to do that. And then Nick's going to explain everything from where Jeff left off. Okay? All right, here we go.
Folks, I've been tracking hurricanes for the past 30 years as a professional meteorologist. I've loved weather since I'm basically 3 years old. And when I look at Melissa, I can't say I've ever seen a storm with such symmetrical structure. This has got to be one of the best textbook examples of a hurricane. That is not good news because it means that the storm is incredibly strong. It's one of the strongest hurricanes ever in the Atlantic, right now tied for the 10th strongest storm in the Atlantic, and it still has a chance to strengthen a little bit more before it makes landfall on Tuesday morning. It also now holds the record for the world's driest eye. So as we zoom into the eye, you can see there's not even a cloud in it. The dew points are very low, so there's very low humidity in there. The storm's just wobbling around right now. It hasn't really begun its track to the north. We think it will move north and eventually northeast, making landfall in Jamaica. And this is a look at all the strongest storms since 1851. And they've never had a Cat 5 direct hit, but it looks like Melissa may be their first one, making landfall on the western side, a little less populated there. Eastern side has Kingston, but Montego Bay is on the western side. And so this is going to be a catastrophic impact, especially if it does, in fact, make a direct landfall. One of the biggest problems with a lot of these Caribbean countries, and Jamaica being one of them, is that there are big mountains up to 7,000 feet on the eastern side. That tropical moisture is being forced into the mountains, forced to lift. It is squeezing out all that tropical moisture and producing a lot of heavy rain, mudslides, flash flooding. How much rain are we likely to see? I think when it's all said and done, 30 to 40 inches of rain is possible in spots. So this is a very dangerous storm, but also because of the wind. As we show you the wind gust forecast, you can see as it makes landfall, right where it makes landfall, we're seeing gusts 120, 130, 140 miles an hour. It does weaken as it makes its way across the island. Now, the reason why the mainland of the U.S. is protected is a strong cold front, another one, heading to the East Coast will scoop up Melissa, pick it up, and move it northeast. But unfortunately, that means it may be moving towards Bermuda. Now, it is going to be a weaker storm when it moves towards Bermuda, but we think that when it moves over eastern Cuba, it is likely still to be a major hurricane, then moving over Bermuda as maybe a Cat 1 or Cat 2. I'm Chief Meteorologist and Climate Specialist Jeff Baradelli.
Okay, so Nick, pick up where Jeff left off because that was a couple of days ago. Was he right in his analysis? And where are we? And say hi to everybody. And I just have to say, with a Karen singing way, no, you didn't miss anything. You just missed the beginning, sweetie. We're here. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm glad to have you have everybody on the show. So yeah, I mean, the analysis was pretty much spot on. I mean, a couple of days ago, it was pretty clear that Jamaica was going to be hit by an intense hurricane, and unfortunately, it was incredibly powerful when it made it landfall this morning. Um, Jamaica ultimately was hit by Category 5 storm, Hurricane Melissa, with maximum sustained winds of 185 miles per hour and minimum central pressure of 892 millibars. So it made it to it it tied the record for the most intense landfalling hurricane on record in the North Atlantic, along with the Labor Day hurricane, the Florida Keys of 1935, 892 millibar pressure. It's up there with some landfalling storms that, such as the Labor Day hurricane of 1935, 885 miles per hour, Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas, 185 miles per hour. Um, so it was absolutely incredible. And one of the things that most meteorologists had hoped would happen yesterday was that it would undergo some kind of structural change because the environment was favorable for the storm to reach this high octane intensity. The oceans were abnormally warm, and we'll go into that a little bit more later. The wind shear, which is the change in wind speed in direction with height, the wind shear was very low, and there was no dry air in the area to disrupt thunderstorm activity. So basically, there was this prime environment for a hurricane to intensify extremely rapidly and become very powerful. And so the only hope that meteorologists had for Jamaica was that it would undergo something called an eyewall replacement cycle. Basically, you have an outer eye, you have an eye wall, and you have another eye wall that develops that's bigger than the original one, and it starves the moisture and convergence for the original eye wall. It collapses, and you get a contraction of the new eye wall, and it redevelops. Basically, this process leads to weakening, and that was pretty much the only hope that people had. And I went to bed last night. Before I went to sleep last night, I wrote a post on my Facebook weather page where I stated that if the system doesn't uh, undergo an eyewall replacement cycle in the next 6 to 12 hours, then it's probably going to reach Jamaica at peak intensity. And I woke up this morning around 7:30 to take my kid to school, and I looked at my first thing I did was look at my cell phone and look at Facebook, and it was just still ferocious storm that it hadn't done anything but maintain its intensity. And this morning it actually intensified further before it made landfall. It was 175, then 180, then 185, and it reached. And I mean, you're talking gusts well over 215 miles an hour at the sea level. Higher, even stronger winds in the mountainous terrain of Jamaica. and there was just no chance for it to weaken. It in fact strengthened, and it's probably caused horrible devastation in western Jamaica. Um,
Hmm,
and we just don't. I mean, we've
we don't
seen
know yet.
pictures and photos from places where there is still cell service, where there's still electricity of some kind. And we
Yeah.
see all the flooding rains and the damage, wind damage that's occurred. But that area where the core of strongest winds actually came in, we probably would be days before we get photos and video from those areas, because those areas have probably been it's probably a hellscape.
Yeah.
Defoliated trees, structures completely blown apart, down to foundations. It's probably pretty bad in those areas.
They said, I didn't realize that when I heard on one news station population, they were talking about millions of people in Jamaica on that island.
Yeah, I think there's like 2.5
Wow.
million people on
That's a
Jamaica.
lot of
Yeah,
people. Can I ask
yeah.
you a question, Nicholas, about if this storm, well, what was different about 1935 as opposed to now that would make 1935 as strong in certain ways and then now?
Well, if I understand your question, I mean, basically, you've always had in the past and in present day, you've had storms that can get strong and become very powerful.
Mhm.
And, we have history of, I mean, the Galveston hurricane of 1900 that killed
Mhm.
like 10,000 people. It was a very strong Cat 4. And of course you had the Labor Day hurricane was a very high end Category 5. So we've always had these storms. It's
Yeah.
just in the modern era of global warming, you're getting more of, either depending on the basin, either more intense storms
Mhm.
or storms that are having the tendency to rapidly or extremely rapidly intensify.
Oof.
Like Hurricane Melissa intensified by about 70 miles per hour in 24 hours, I believe. Intensifying from like a
Okay.
70 mile per hour tropical storm to a 140 mile per hour hurricane.
Mhm.
And then of course it intensified further, into this beast that made landfall this
Beast.
morning in Jamaica. Um,
And in 1935, obviously they did not have any sophisticated knowledge of what was coming. So that's another reason why the death tolls were so incredible in so many of these early hurricanes, as
yeah,
opposed to now where we see no preparations made. But the officials in Jamaica were saying, last chance to protect your life, and that no structure, that Jamaica was not prepared for any structures to withstand what was coming,
yeah. I
at
mean,
least
most
on
places.
part of it.
Yeah, I mean, most places on Earth, even in the United States, even in South Florida, Category high end Cat 4 to Cat 5 is pushing the limit for what most structures can handle,
Mm.
unless it's steel reinforced building. And then, even then, the steel reinforcements, all that remains, every window's blown out, walls are collapsing, and, it's pretty extreme wind conditions.
Yeah, we're going to show there's hospitals that 4 hospitals. There's a something that will show the hospitals have lost their roofs, and hospitals a lot of times are supposed to be safer or they're built different to withstand supposedly, but I mean, wow, all bets are off.
Yeah, I mean, the structure might remain, but it's gutted by the wind. And so that's what can happen in those kind of wind velocities. I mean, different storm, but we saw that in the Joplin tornado in 2011. It hit a hospital in Joplin, Missouri, and completely gutted it. The structure remained, but it was
Yep.
completely like blown out. Yeah, by 200 plus mile per hour winds. So yeah, I mean, those kind of winds, human built environment is you're asking a lot to handle those kind of wind velocities. And Hurricane Melissa definitely tested the ability of people to survive, I'm sure, today in those areas that were directly impacted by the inner
Yeah.
core of the storm.
We're going to have to do a follow-up on this one, but obviously it's not so sweet, Melissa. If everybody that's
Mhm.
all you older folks out there get Sweet Melissa Allman Brothers, and I had to do it. Not so sweet, Melissa, at all. No. Mm-mm. So, okay, so continue on
Yeah,
juxtapositioning
yeah,
Jeff's to where you are and where we are.
yeah. So basically, right now the hurricane is a Category 3 storm. It's sort of reorganizing itself because it's now over open water between Jamaica and Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
and the storm will probably make landfall in Cuba in like the next 6 hours or so, 4 to 5 or 6 hours. As a hopefully nothing more than a Cat 3. If it gets going, it could be a Cat 4, but probably a Category 3 storm. But either way, a major hurricane that can do a lot of damage, produce a lot of storm surge in eastern Cuba. And
Oh, that's
then,
a good thing that you mentioned that because somebody did ask a question already. How will it be for Cuba, please? So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, eastern Cuba will see a lot of impacts in terms of there's already a lot of heavy rain spreading into Cuba right now, eastern
Mm,
Cuba, and they'll be dealing with flooding in addition to storm surge and the high winds. Not what happened in Jamaica, western Jamaica, but still, highly damaging, destructive winds. And then it will pass over parts of the southern Bahamas
yep.
tomorrow and cause impacts for them. Similarly, heavy rain, high winds. It should be a weaker storm. It should be getting weaker as it progresses farther north. Cooler waters, more wind shear to disrupt the system,
How does
and
that
then
work? How does that work? The wind shear to disrupt.
tropical cyclones are thermal heat engines, and
Mm-hmm.
so they generate convection, this upward and downward vertical motion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, by their nature, tropical cyclones are vertically stacked across the atmospheric column. So,
Okay.
the circulation is it's like a spinning top, basically. It's vertical. Or like a gyroscope, if people
Okay.
remember gyroscopes.
Yes.
um, um, and so when you get vertical wind shear, hot, strong winds aloft, meaning in the mid to upper atmosphere,
Yeah.
it tends to shear the system so that you have a low level center that's, here, but then the upper level center might be over here, so it's sheared, and so it's disrupting the
Okay.
circulation from having this good pattern that's vertically stacked, and so it just does not
Oh.
allow for the system to strengthen because in the upper atmosphere you actually have intense hurricanes will produce an upper level high pressure system that actually ventilates the system. So you have low pressure at the surface, winds are coming in toward the center of the storm. But by conservation of mass, that mass of air has to go somewhere, so it
Mm-hmm.
goes up after it converges at the surface, and then the high pressure system in the upper atmosphere spreads that air out and ventilates
Okay.
the system, and that ventilation allows the low pressure system to continue to intensify and strengthen. We get progressively lower pressures because you have that air being removed, that mass being removed rapidly. When you have all that wind shear, that disrupts that process, and so the low pressure system at the surface can't
Okay.
develop. Extratropical cyclones, mid latitude cyclones, frontal systems are completely different structurally, and so they're connected to the jet stream. The jet stream does that sort of um, process of ventilating the surface low and intensifying the surface low, but tropical cyclones have a completely different structure, and so they need low wind shear, lots of ocean heat for um, maintain and generate that heat engine in order to strengthen and intensify.
So meteorologists kind of like that, the shear. They would rather see that happen.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes, they want to
Yeah,
see
they would.
that happen.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But unfortunately, none of those things were. I mean, they were present early in the development of Melissa when it was a tropical storm. It was dealing with a lot of vertical wind shear that was disrupting it and keeping it from strengthening. But once that shear relaxed and it moved into that environment where the ocean waters were very warm, then that's when it exploded and developed very rapidly.
And of course, the difference too between 1935 or 1900 is the ocean temperature now is
Yeah,
just, I mean, it was just insanely warm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Climate Central, the nonprofit organization that tries to communicate climate change and does a lot of climate-related studies, attribution
Yes.
studies. They actually did. Well, they have this page where you can actually track in real time
Yeah.
the ocean waters and how warm they are in the attribution to climate change, and the the waters that Melissa passed over south of Jamaica were on average 1.5 degrees C warmer than normal, which doesn't sound like a
Jeez.
lot, but it's quite a bit of heat to raise a large area of ocean by 1.5 degrees Celsius above climate norms. And they stated that that abnormal warmth was made 500 to 900 times more likely because of climate change. Just extraordinary, like extraordinarily likely that climate change played a role
Sure.
in the ocean heat, which then allowed Melissa to intensify, and in fact, um, it ended up being stronger, maybe 10 to 15 miles per hour stronger because of climate change than it would have otherwise without the presence of anthropogenic climate change. So it still would have become a category 5 most likely, but it would have been 170, 165, 170 miles an hour instead of 185.
I saw,
You
and then
know,
I saw some that said over 200-mile-an-hour winds today.
yeah, the gusts,
Yeah,
were
the gusts.
certainly we're over to.
Another thing I noticed online was several meteorologists attributing it to global warming and not using the words climate change because of they're now trigger words. They're now
Yeah,
not cool to use. I mean, the Department of Energy is not you can't use climate change or emissions. So I've seen
yeah,
that the vernacular is changing so that we can actually get the facts out and not trigger these freaking morons on you know the
yeah. I
right.
mean, I have a friend of mine that works as a climate resilience officer for a city in Florida, and she is not allowed to use the phrase
Yeah,
climate change.
it's
It's just not.
insane.
You just can't talk about it in Florida because Governor DeSantis says you can't. It's ridiculous.
Of
Like
course.
science and reality go out the window
But
when it
but
comes
yet
to climate change.
but yet how do they explain, how would somebody who is anti-science, doesn't believe in reality, how do they explain the differences? They can't. They have no way to explain what you are explaining to us about the heat in the oceans. They have no way to explain.
Yeah.
They'll just
Well,
say
you just
it's
can't.
always happened.
Yeah, I mean, you
Like,
just can't say
yeah.
climate change. I mean, you can say like I remember a couple of years ago at the Natural Hazards Workshop in Colorado. They had somebody talking about climate change communication in rural Colorado, communicating to like ranchers and stuff, and they would just use the phrase extreme weather or weather changes
Yes.
because climate change it's so politicized by the right. It
Very
triggers
sad.
people, and people can't handle it, or they just disbelieve it, and all the misinformation starts
Hmm.
initiating and flowing out of people's coming out of people's minds and stuff. And so they use different phrases to communicate the same information, to try to communicate
And
the same information to
we're
people
gonna
in order to
have
get
to, right?
yeah, in order to get these rural, I guess probably a lot of them MAGA folks to trust the
Understand,
science of and
right?
understand and trust the science of climate change without talking about climate change.
Interestingly enough, I cannot monetize a video that has a thumbnail that says climate change or
No,
collapse.
really.
So I've changed a lot of how I address the channel because I want to get this factual information out. Tony is all about science and facts. You're all about science and facts. He's a geopolitical historian. I mean, his shows have been
Hmm.
incredible. What the kind of information that he's bringing to this channel, and it's just very sad that here we are. We're watching a tragedy happening, and we have to tiptoe around the language to describe it in Jamaica,
Yeah,
and talk about the
yeah.
ocean warmth in ways that people have to be. It's like you have to hold hands. You have to baby people. It's very sad. It's very sad. Oh well,
Well, I mean, you can thank the right wing politicians
I
and
know.
the oil industry for the disinformation campaigns. I mean, it's been very successful.
Very
you know, yeah,
sad.
I mean, yeah.
So tell me a little bit more, tell us a little bit more about the warming then in the ocean and how that is significantly different from 1900 or 1930 or even 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the oceans take up most of the heat energy from the greenhouse effect, just because the oceans can hold a lot of heat. They have a high heat capacity. If it wasn't for the oceans, climate change would have run away a long time ago, and we'd be a hot, ridiculously
Ugh.
hot Venus type planet.
Yes.
The oceans have saved us from that fate so far, but they take in a lot of heat, and that heat has to go somewhere. It has to be distributed to other parts of the planet. You have all this heat, much of it in the tropics, and it gets distributed to other parts of the planet via evaporation and condensation into the atmosphere. And of course, in the tropics, where you have that sufficient heat, you can generate these heat engines, the hurricanes that feed off of all that energy. So, I mean, the thing is with the oceans is that they're also getting increasingly warm with depth, and so like the Caribbean Sea, there are parts of the Caribbean where it's very warm with depth too, and in fact, Hurricane Melissa is an example. It was moving at like 1 mile an hour, 2 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour for a while, churning up that ocean and probably churning it up pretty deep. But
Yeah, and
it
that
was so
cannot be
warm,
that can't be good for the ocean life.
yeah,
Ugh.
and it churned it up the water. But because the water is so warm with depth, that it didn't churn up any cold water to weaken the storm.
Mm.
And so it just continued to do its thing, even moving at 2 or 3 miles an hour, churning up that same ocean water for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Wow.
like warm bath water. So
And
yeah, but yeah,
then go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but yeah, I mean, um, the all this heat accumulation, it accelerates the more carbon is pumped into the atmosphere to accelerate global warming. And so, I mean, it's probably been happening for 150 years, this warming of the
Mhm.
oceans along with the
Sure.
atmosphere. But it's becoming much more, it's having much greater impact on the weather and the climate of the atmosphere now than it did, in 100 years ago.
Sure.
So
Well,
yeah,
what I want to do right now is I want to change over to the other screen. Hang on, because I do want to show another interesting phenomenon that's happening. Is all over. People are just showing fake videos. Fake videos. And so I went to
yeah,
PolitiFact and I see this and I know it's like fake videos. So nobody's even showing what's happening. I don't understand what this is all about. It's crazy. These aren't from today. And people, PolitiFact has been saying, nope, these are different storms. This was in Italy, and what makes people want to show storms, that the Oklahoma storm, what sensationalism? They want to just what?
yeah. I mean,
Attention?
it's clicks and attention, and I don't know if you have a monetized page, it's money.
Yeah,
I mean,
but it's crazy.
a lot of meteorologists were actually on X today, saying, or on Facebook. I don't know if like Max Velocity or
Yeah, oh God, yes. I
Ryan
watched them
Hall,
today. I watched
yeah,
today.
yeah, they I think one or both of them mentioned, don't share, AI generated slop.
No, and
you
that's
know.
why I follow Volcaholic, because
hmm
we do have a relationship online, and she will show, she will not share bullshit, but like I don't want to get a copyright from anybody, but I'm just showing you anything that's on X, on Volcaholic, and she's also on Blue Sky. You can trust that she does her homework, but I don't want to make these, well, let me see. I don't want to get a copyright, so I have to be very careful here. But shit, how do I turn? Okay, so I don't want to have that happen, but she will show. This is St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. There's a police station. So if you want to see the real deal, follow. And she does attribute who it's from, who has filmed it. But you have to be careful. You have to be really careful. She says climate change is, and she's been on a roll lately. She's not American, so she actually doesn't have the same fear we do. But she rests her case. Climate change is supercharging storms. Here's how: warmer oceans, more energy. Simple. Hotter air,
hmm
rising sea levels worsen storm. Just what you said. Everything.
Yeah.
But
hmm
she's very good. She's very good, and she has good stuff. So, um, but she'll show. This was here, yeah, 1935, right here. And
No, yeah.
2025 was the first time in 10 years that there was no hurricane landfalls in the United States through the end of September. So, and
Yeah.
the world
Thankfully.
doesn't look, the world doesn't revolve around America. You think? I just love her. I think she's wonderful. And so she shares a lot of good stuff. Just so you know, and you can get her if you don't want to be on the cesspool of X, you can get her. But I always say I'm on X because of the Climate Crisis Club. I will say it ad nauseum. And then I'll go back to this hospital. This was very upsetting. 4 hospitals significantly damaged by Hurricane Melissa. And that's, I mean, what are they going to do when everything, the dust clears, so to speak? Wow. It's people, this is not going to be an easy thing. It's just not. I don't see this as being easy in a few days. If you want to come back and do a post-mortem on what happened, surely I would love to have that happen. But so anyway, I wanted to give a clue in there, but I don't want to get a copyright, so I don't want to show any of those videos. But I just want to tell you,
hmm
people are crazy sharing all this
Yeah.
garbage. It's just not necessary to do that. If
Yeah.
you look at a
It happens on
verified,
a lot. It happens in a lot of big storms. Unfortunately, major events. You get people that just want especially social media era. I mean,
Yeah, I
obviously
know.
before social media, before 2005, 2004, people didn't really have major social media to turn to. It was like your own home videos of actual things happening, or the media still dominating. But now you have citizen media, which is good, but then you have people that take advantage of the social media and try to get, again, clicks, monetize videos, or just attention, because they just are attention starved, and they want to get tons of views. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be able to. I mean, it's hard though. You have to be able to dig through it and see um, what's real and what's fake. But it's
Yeah.
hard to determine
It's
that, because I mean, you see a storm on video with tons of flooding, wind damage, and everything. And it says Hurricane Melissa did this, and like, oh, okay. Why would you think otherwise, unless you
right.
personally know the area?
Right.
You
Well,
wouldn't think. And
and
that's what people do
that's why
expect,
on YouTube today I was looking at the networks because they actually sent their weather people out to Jamaica. And so
Right.
while they're not showing the hideous damage yet, they are reporting from the island. And there was
Yeah.
one Canadian woman that was stuck in Jamaica, and she was talking about how terrifying it was. They were in a hotel. They still had, at that time, she still had the ability to be on her phone. I don't know how long that lasted. They couldn't get Canadian Airlines just said, we can't get you out of here. You're going to have to be safe. On the inside, innermost walls of the buildings, the
Yeah.
innermost, the strongest walls. I mean, there are definite things, and we all have to learn this with tornadoes too,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
this stuff. But I just can't imagine if people did not evacuate to centers and they think they can ride this out when the officials in Jamaica said, last chance to protect your life. I'm scared to see.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it with Hurricane Ian. A lot of people in
Yeah.
Florida, a lot of people didn't
My
evacuate.
mother didn't.
Um,
She was in
yeah.
Sarasota sitting in her closet with her friends drinking wine.
Yeah. And
Mm.
I mean, it's that, of course, a lot of the deaths in Ian were storm surge related.
You're right,
In Jamaica,
Victor.
there could be,
He's
and
right, though. Not
not. Oh
everyone.
yeah. Oh yes.
I'm not immune to that. I
Yeah.
understand that. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
that the preparations, you hope that they can get their animals, and I always think about the animals, the farms or
Yeah.
the wildlife. Jeez.
Yeah, and I mean, some people don't evacuate, yeah, because of animals and shelters not accepting animals, and
Which is
that's,
insane.
uh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
then, I
So
don't know what Jamaica's like as far as horses or farms or any of that either. We'll find out. I will do a follow-up show. You're certainly welcome to come back for that. Uh, but wow. Wow. So what would you like to talk about next in this?
um, yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot. I mean, basically, I'm just waiting to see what the area that was hit by the worst of the winds looks like. There's a hurricane chaser. You might have heard of him. His name's Josh Morgerman.
Mhm. Mhm.
He was doing coverage for Weather Nation, and
Yeah, I saw it.
he was and his last report was like 12 hours ago, and or a little less than that, he posted on Twitter or X or whatever. Yeah,
Shitler.
he yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we're on that platform, so I don't want anybody to get don't anybody on X, don't be offended. We're there too. Because we want to bring you into the Environmental Coffee House fold. So thanks for
Yes.
watching. Thank you for
But
watching.
yeah, but yeah, he posted about the destructive winds that were happening, and it was still relatively far from the center of the storm, and
Mm.
he was getting hit pretty hard. He had posted on X,
Ugh.
and that was his last
Oh
report,
boy.
unless he Yeah, so I mean, everyone's kind of hoping he's okay, because they were hit by probably the northeastern eyewall, which is usually was the strongest part of the storm, the eye.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, he had said that he had like a concrete like closet that he was gonna get into if it got really bad, and
Yep.
yeah, so hopefully he's okay. But
I hope
if
so.
he is, he'll probably have something. He'll probably be when he gets satellite feed or something. He'll probably show pictures and video of what
Okay.
happened. And
That'll be
yeah, I mean,
interesting.
it'll probably be pretty. I mean, the winds. I mean, the damage that will probably be akin to what we saw in Hurricane Andrew, for example, or Hurricane Michael in the United States. If people want a U.S. comparison, the wind damage, you know,
Was Michael
Andrew,
Mexico Beach? Was that
yeah,
the one?
yeah,
Yeah, where the one
yeah,
house was standing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Hurricane Michael, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
We
and I
covered,
mean
I
those,
think we've covered all of them here in the past
yeah,
8 years. Shh.
yeah, yeah. I mean, those storms had maximum sustained winds of like 160, 165.
Yeah.
I mean, this was 185. I mean, it's probably going to be very similar type of destruction where you have, wood frame houses that are just like blasted to the ground, and concrete structures are probably the only thing that remain, and trees are defoliated and left as
Oh,
stumps. And
no.
yeah, I mean, that area is probably really bad. So that's what I'm kind of waiting for.
All right, let's
And
go
hope
to.
I'm
Oh, go
ho-
ahead.
I'm hope I was just gonna say I'm hoping that the death rate is not very high from
I
this
know.
storm.
I hope
Yeah,
not.
that people were able to evacuate if they could, or at least take shelter during the windstorm and get away from the storm surge and everything. So
Well, I've got a couple of. We'll bring everybody in. Robin Hood. She was just making a comment about the terms, changing terms to get grants through, even in academia. You have to change the terms. You can't even write the terms in science to get the grants. You have to change them. All right.
yeah,
Let me there was a question. Did I ask this? Did we do this? What is the likelihood of more hurricanes developing in the next week or two in the Atlantic or Caribbean? Good question.
uh, yeah, I haven't heard of anything else imminently developing, but I know that the Climate Prediction Center, I think, does climate tropical outlooks for like a couple weeks out, areas to be concerned about. And I think going into early to mid November, they highlighted the Western Caribbean as having like a 20 or 30% chance of some kind of tropical development occurring in November. So, I mean, that area, the Caribbean, can be active in October, November, just because the jet stream in the north is coming farther south, and causing disruption of disruptive weather patterns for tropical systems to develop. So you don't see very much in the Gulf of Mexico in late October or November, or in the middle of the Atlantic, because the jet stream is there to shred, tropical systems apart. So they're not going to be forming in those areas very often in late mid to late fall. But the Caribbean is still very warm from the summer and early autumn,
Mm-hmm.
and has low areas of low wind shear, and so that's opportunities for tropical systems to develop. And I mean, you've had really bad tropical systems develop in mid to late October, like Hurricane Mitch in
Mm-hmm.
1997, I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a bad one in late October.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
yeah, um, and then Wilma was in October in the Caribbean. So yeah, you can get some bad ones. So hopefully the um, Melissa is the worst of the worst, and we won't get anything more like that. But yeah,
That's Casino
one
Royale right there. We don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, one statistical note is that we've had. I don't remember the names of the other two systems, but we've had 3 Category 5 hurricanes this season in the Atlantic. The other 2 were just out in the open ocean,
Yeah.
so nobody really knows about them. Um, but it's the first time we've had at least 3 Category 5s in a season since 2005 with with Katrina, Rita, and Wilma. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay, let's go to old Jack Wolf, my buddy. Tim Vasquez said Melissa was unlike anything seen this temperature.
This temperature. Yeah.
In this temperature. And then we have question. Was the direction and place Melissa formed unusual?
I don't think so. I mean, this time of year again, the Caribbean can be a place where you can get the hurricanes develop, and some of them can be intense. I mean, the only thing unusual about Melissa was the fact that it was so intense near Jamaica. I mean, there have been, I think, I looked at historic hurricane tracks and I saw 8 Category 4 or 5 storms that have come within 60 nautical miles of Jamaica's shoreline, and only one Cat 4 made landfall, and that was Gilbert in 1988, and that was 130 miles per hour. But otherwise, they've been hit by mostly Category 3 or 2, ones. Um, and it's kind of amazing, actually, because you think of, the Caribbean as sort of being Hurricane Alley, get a lot of storms that can either come from the main Atlantic and go through the Lesser Antilles and go into the Caribbean as intense hurricanes, or you get intense hurricanes that form in the sea itself. But Jamaica just managed to never get this level of violence on its shores, and it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the records go back to the 1850s for the North Atlantic,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously, we don't have a lot of reliable knowledge of wind speeds, because we didn't have planes flying into storms
Sure.
in 1856.
No, I was
we
surprised that NOAA still has the hurricane planes going.
Yeah, I mean they got I don't know all the details, but I think they were able to keep their funding for that. So
And
I mean NOAA and the Air Force Reserve
the Air
both
Force
have planes. Yeah.
Yep, that was the
And so
picture
you had-
that's behind us. That's from the Air
Yeah.
Force.
Yeah, and so you have both of them, and sometimes you had an Air Force plane and a NOAA plane flying into the storm at the same time, and so they
That's
take turns.
scary.
Yeah, they take turns core punching the eye to take measurements, and then they basically corroborate their data to reveal the overall strength of the storm.
Those pilots
So
are
it was
crazy.
I wanted
crazy.
to be one of them.
You did?
I wanted to be one.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
I wanted to join the Air Force Reserve in
Wow.
the mid 2000s, but my family was against it because of the Iraq War. I might have to go to war
Yeah,
if I joined
yeah.
the military.
Yeah. Wow,
Yeah,
you never
so-
told us this before.
Yeah.
We didn't know that's
Yeah.
a secret. Ooh, he told us a secret. Okay, let's see. A Vector said since 1851 there have only been 4 landfalling Cat 5s. More than that happened, but they didn't. It's just what you said. They didn't landfall in the U.S. Right.
Right.
Okay. I've got to get some levity here. Should I sing it? Hurricanes to the left, fascists to the right, and here I am stuck in the middle with you. You're with us, Poppy. You're with us. Yes, we're a community, and like I did a show, there is support. There's a lot of support out there for our grief and our anxiety over what we are seeing in the breakdown of our climate. And Yeah. Is hurricane season almost over?
Uh, yes, it officially ends at the end of November.
Let's
Um,
just hope. And I know the word, nobody likes hope, but let's just hope. Maybe it won't we
yeah,
won't get a Florida one, or we won't get, we won't get anything. But you don't know. You don't know. Okay, let's see. Well, I think that's aw, yeah, that's sweet. Devastating for the whole Caribbean or Caribbean, however you want to pronounce it. Potato, potato. Thank you, Nick, Sandy, for answering and this extra edition. You're very welcome. That's why we're
hmm
here to bring you, the information. Nick's an expert. I mean, Nick is the man. He's just. Well, we should probably just move on to some of what's happening with you and your education, and let's see what else is in here. I don't think that we have too many more questions, so I think what I will do is we'll segue using uh, this. I thought it was perfect because I mean, really, think about it. And you know what? Maybe we'll do the first flush. Let's flush the natural disasters. Goodbye. Yeah,
yeah.
natural
The orange,
disasters.
the orange hurricane.
Yeah, the orange hurricane. All right. Hopefully, we haven't offended anybody on X. But anyway, it's just that you are doing, why don't you tell maybe people that don't know what you're doing your PhD in and what's going on, and then we can segue into what's happening with you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm doing a PhD in emergency management, the study of disasters, and how society copes with disasters. And I'm almost done. I'm hoping to get done with the dissertation in March or April.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, probably closer to April than March, but either
Okay.
way, I'll be done in the spring. Um, and yeah, my focus is on warning communication response by individuals and households. So that's sort of my interest, and my dissertation kind of focuses on the tornado hazard, how people respond to tornadoes. So, um, but yeah, I've been in school since 2021, so
I
I'm
know.
hoping to get done in 2026.
We're so
I
proud of
already
you.
I already did the graduation ceremony last year. Yeah, but anticipating that I'd get done a little bit sooner, but then other things happened and
Listen,
I had to
life
take a break. So,
happens, right?
yeah,
Life happens for
yeah.
all of us, but you're going to have it. Now, was your dream to work? Was it to work for FEMA? I mean, and is that
Um, more,
dashed or
more
what?
NOAA, more
Noah.
NOAA, just
Noah.
because I have that background in meteorology, and my
Yeah.
advisors had told me that I'd probably be good fit for them because they sometimes hire social scientists to work on issues related to warning communication and response, and improving warnings and doing things like that. Like there's programs they have at the National Severe Storms Laboratory in Norman, Oklahoma, called Warn on Forecast, which is to try to extend warnings to like an hour for tornadoes,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
forecast development of tornadoes explicitly so that you can actually warn people like an hour and a half ahead of time, which
Fantastic.
is pretty advanced, but still a work in progress. But, social scientists have to understand, okay, how do people actually respond to such advanced notice of something, because the response um, behavioral change is different with more lead time. So issues like that. So I had hoped to work for them. I'm hoping that the National Severe Storms Laboratory will still have funding next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you looking, Dr. Nick? Are you looking at neighborhood level preparation for extreme weather?
Yeah. I mean, not. I guess I'm looking at households in their preparation for extreme weather. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
um, the neighborhood and community levels too. Communities do a lot in terms, or can do a lot, or not do a lot to prepare for disasters. Um, but I look at a lot at like households and how individuals and families try to prepare for disasters, and how they actually
Mm-hmm.
respond to alerts and warnings and stuff like that. So
Excellent. Like me, I'm the uber a prepared person who has the tornado area in my basement, the motorcycle helmet, and the boots, and everything set up at that season because I already lived through one here. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna
yeah,
say.
I
Yeah,
am that person.
you're
I've
actually
got everything set up for it.
Yeah, and you're actually the prime example of someone who's had direct impact
Mm-hmm.
experience, being hit by a tornado, and
Yep.
it's how it's influenced your risk perception,
Uh-huh.
all the stuff that we talk about in warning, communication, and response.
And
So,
I've
yeah.
also got backup batteries for power. The power goes off here. I've got myself set up to be somewhat okay, but if something hits you, a tornado, and it's so powerful, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. Just wear your helmet and your boots and have your shit ready to get out. You
Yeah.
know. Yeah, that's what can I say? Okay, what we're going to do now is segue over to something very personal. And I want you to talk about this because you are not alone. And what's happening to Americans, I mean, including me, and I can say that my, health insurance is going to be affected. And but let's talk about what's happening with you because you replicate so many Americans.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, the government is shut down, and so because of the government shutdown, well, Trump says that President Trump says that they're no longer going to be putting any funding into the supplemental nutrition assistance program, SNAP program,
Right.
for starting in November. My family is on that program, and we
Mm-hmm.
receive funds every month to help with food, especially in the first half of the month. And right now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to budget for food for November? Like probably millions, 40, 50 million other people in this country right now, because
Right.
they put a big announcement on the USDA website. You can go to the USDA's front page, and it says, the well is running dry. Blame the Senate Democrats.
Yeah,
It's
I
just like,
know,
okay,
of course. Of
yeah,
course. And but
like I
they could just extend this. This is health
yeah,
insurance.
I
The
mean,
health
I
insurance is
mean,
what we're fighting for.
yeah, I mean, the food stamp program, they have emergency funding. The USDA has emergency funding to fund things if necessary, and they just are refusing to fund the SNAP program for November. And
I know.
unfortunately, um, my state, I mean, I live in a very conservative state, North Dakota, but the governor did state that they had the money to provide for the SNAP recipients for November. The problem is that they don't have access to the digital infrastructure of the federal government, so they can't
Right.
physically put their funding on the cards. And so they've tried to go to the USDA and suggest and see if there can be a workaround, and so far there's nothing. So, and now the entire country is being affected by this too. So yeah, basically, I'm gonna be, my family, we're gonna be out hundreds of, you know,
Well, I wanted to
dollars of
say
food
that the
spending.
link is in the show notes, and anything you would have normally might have donated to Environmental Coffee House tonight or whatever, please do it for the GoFundMe for Nicholas. He does a lot of he's a contributor. He's part of our team. I already did, and I I want to see the best for you, and you've been such an amazing part of our team for so many years, and we just want to see you get through this and get your PhD. And we talked about this night when we're going to have the biggest virtual party for Nick when he gets a PhD. And I think I'll actually do it on Zoom. We'll do it on Zoom through this, and everybody can join instead of just being out there. We'll all be in it, and we'll have a big party and celebrate this because we've all watched it. We've watched you bloom and grow and become such an amazing scientist and meteorologist, and now going to get your PhD. So that's what we're going to do. So anybody that wants to donate, please, because you know you're just amazing. And we love you very much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it'll be, yeah, any funds you guys provide will go towards food
Yeah.
because we need food. So,
Right. And you need
yeah,
to be able to, feed your kid, and you need to be able to keep it all together to finish this PhD. This is the critical
yeah,
thing. You don't want to let the stupid bullshit that's going on get in the way of this dream. You've come so far, and you're there. You're just almost there. We want to see that
yeah,
doctor in front of your name.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like a very proud mother. I mean, I do, and it's just amazing. So, thank you. And everybody, thank you if you can, please. Yes, Nick is top notch. We love our Nick. And yeah, see, there's another one. We lost you. You're losing your SNAP, and I think that my supplemental is going to go up to be like ridiculous, and it's
Mhm.
kind of scary when you're like me and you're older. You're on Social Security and you're on Medicare and you can't afford the supplemental, which picks up. And I had two surgeries this year, so I'm hoping I'm through all that. I don't need anything else, but that's that 20% that you're shit out of luck. If you have some humongous expense, you're done. You're done. So it's not
Mhm.
just food, it's everything. But another person that I am Facebook friends with that I know is saying that their insurance now is pegged to go up to $2,700 a month.
Man.
And this person has a sick, had an ill wife also that had to go through surgery and all this. And I mean, this is serious shit. Really serious shit.
Yeah,
See, other people here too. We're all in this together. And all of those resources, like the Good Grief Network and the other people, I will absolutely list them. We have to find support where we can get it, and I like to think that this channel is support, but we're not professionals, but there are professionals out there, and you could do it online. So, you know, we it's okay, sweetheart. You don't have to, because we understand we're all in a boat. It's
oh
just
yeah,
nobody listen. I
yeah,
say I need donations to run this channel, but I also want to see Nicholas successful. I'd rather have that happen than make a donation to this channel tonight. Don't do that. Okay, so how do you want to end up the show?
um, well, I don't know if I have anything else to add.
Well, then just do a recap.
Yeah, basically, um, we're facing I guess we're facing a future where the storms that can cause harm to us as people and as well as to the environment. Um, it's just going to get worse because of climate change, because of that warming planet. More energy in the oceans, more energy in the atmosphere leads to higher winds, heavier rain. One of the big stories in Jamaica is that they probably got like 30 to 40 inches of rain too. On top of the
Yeah.
storm surge, on top of the storm surge that was probably worse because of climate change, sea level rise, and also the higher winds because of warmer oceans. So I mean, the best we can do is, pull together, maintain our communities, be as individually and collectively prepared as we possibly can be, and hopefully do the best we can to slow the descent into chaos. But so far, people seem to be voting more for fascism than for
And
than
it's
for
not just,
sanity.
yeah, not just the United
Yeah,
States.
not just the
That's a
United
whole
States.
other
Yeah.
show. Tony and I talk about this too because, it's like, is that apropos because of the climate polycrisis? And it just seems like
hmm
it's all one big. But we're going to end on a high note. And I want to thank you for being here and thank everybody for being here. We care about all of you. And thank you, X, for everybody watching on X. Please, we hope that you come back and you learn. And if you would like to get off X and want to join the chat on YouTube, for the next shows, by all means do. Become a part of our community. We all know each other in this chat. We really do. And it's great. So thanks, and I will be on tomorrow night for Left Past 10, and then I'm supposed to be doing the Halloween show. I have a Thursday 5 p.m. Eastern show, which is Political Coffee House. I do with this Space TV now also, this and that. And then I'm not sure for Friday. I want to be on, but I'm not sure I'm up to doing this whole Halloween dress up. It just doesn't feel fun. I don't know, but I know Looney Tunes really wants to come. I mean, I know Donald. Donald wants me to be, he wants me to be Melania. So we shall see. All right, everybody. Mwah. Peace out. See you tomorrow night.
All right. Have a good night.
It's in the show notes.